In this lesson, we will learn how to output deep images from Nuke's ScanlineRender node. Let's begin by first creating a ScanlineRender node. Here we have the Deep tab. Now there's no settings except for drop 0 alpha samples. And in order to use this with our shot, we'll have to, of course, make some 3D geometry. Let's start with something simple. Let's do a sphere. Plug it into the object/scene input. And now we need a camera. And in this particular case, we have the camera for the Grollo shot as an Alembic file. So we're going to create a camera node. And it's important that the cameras match between the CG and the Nuke 3D scene, because if they don't, then the placement of objects in Deep won't really correlate. And if the shot has a moving camera, then you really won't have anything useful to work with. So let's go to the File tab in the camera node. Check Read from File. Open the file up. GrolloCamera.abc. Load this in. Yes, we want to load in the data. So if we see here now, all of this data is populated. Now let's make a deep merge just for the 3D scene. Plug A into ScanlineRender. Take a look. So we don't see anything at all yet. Let's look at the ScanlineRender node. Where is our sphere? Here we go. Let's make it bigger. Let's say a uniform scale of 16. There we go. Now, of course, the sphere is black because we don't have any image input at all. Let's make my favorite thing, a checkerboard. So here we go. Now we're seeing something that makes sense. And just right off the bat, we can see that it's fitting into our scene. And it's fitting in, of course, because Deep allows it to be ordered correctly. Now it's sitting right where Grollo is, and that's it's kind of silly. So let's move the sphere a little bit so we can take a closer look at how these integrate. There we go. You can see here that you don't need to have any of the scene's geometry for this to work, and it's really helpful to do little fixes or add little things in compositing, because now you have this extra flexibility that you can leverage. So this is great. We can add a sphere, but it's pretty rare that you want to add a checkerboard sphere. So what can we do for this shot that's a bit more useful? For this shot, I decided that we were going to add some rain. So the way we're going to add rain is we're going to use Nuke's particle system. So conveniently, the Foundry ships with some particle presets. So for this one, we're going to use the P Rainbox particle preset. Has some pretty simple controls. First thing we're going to do is uncheck sprite mode. What that does is in sprite mode, the drop image input is what the raindrops look like, and it creates little sprites, which are basically just 2D cards that face the camera. When we turn this off, what it means is that the raindrop images that the Foundry's already built into this template are the ones that we're going to be using. So we can use our own if we want to, but we're just going to use the built-in ones. Streaks is fine. Now, this is just a group. So if you've never used groups before, you can click on the S to show internal structure, and it'll open a tab here, a new node graph tab. So this is the particle system. They've already gone through and exposed certain controls in the group. So we don't need to go through this whole tree and make adjustments. All the adjustments to control the behavior of the particle system should be already exposed in this group panel. Let's go ahead and hook this up. And again, if we just view the scanline render, so here we've got a rain. This is quite small though, so let's make this bigger. Let's make a system scale 100. There we go. Fills the frame, which is what we want in this case. Let's take a look at the deep merge. A little hard to see unless I zoom in, but we can see now that there's rain. So this is really great because without deep here, the rain would just be sitting on top. I can show you what that would look like actually. Let me do a quick color correction. Make a grade node. Actually, what I'll need to do is just quickly make my own image. Actually, a faster way to show you this would probably just be to use a deep color correction. Let's just gain up quite a bit. Maybe something a bit over the top, 100. Okay, so now we can see what's happening here. So let's just make a normal color correction node, and I'll show you why in a second. Gain to 100. Okay, so going to make two images here that we can compare with. Just put the rain in 2D, no deep, over our Grollo composite. So if I compare these two, what you should see pretty clearly is that just putting the rain over, the rain doesn't integrate at all. It's just being put on top of our frame. It's not integrating with the scene. When we look at the deep comp, you can see that the intersections are actually working. And this is obviously much more realistic. So this is a really convenient way to do things, because if we didn't have deep, we'd have to go through and make some roto to hold this out or something, and that would be time consuming. And if the camera was moving or the character was animated, it would be even more time consuming. And it might not even look as good. So what I'm going to go through now is set this up with pre-comps, because we need to make holdouts for this. We don't want to run this live. Okay, here we go. So I've integrated our rain setup with all of our other deep holdouts. So this is the Grollo holdouts that we built in our previous lesson. And this is the rain holdouts. We've got the Rainbox particle system, ScanlineRender and camera, and it's the same setup as last time. We've got deep merge set to combine, which is connecting to everything else. And then we are doing the same holdout that we do with every other one, and I've gone ahead and I've rendered a holdout already. So this is our holdout. And because this is coming from ScanlineRender, it doesn't have all of the other AOVs that we normally get from the CG render. CG render obviously has many, many more AOVs than Nuke's ScanlineRender supports, but I did go ahead and make an ID mat for the rain so that when we do our compositing after it's been combined, we can leverage the ID map if we want to color correct the rain separately. We go down, these are being merged together. Take a look. ID rain is in here. So there we go. We've now used ScanlineRender, output deep from it, and use that to add rain to our shot. We're going to move on to the next lesson.